Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. We're coming to you from the Michigan CEO Summit at the Westin Book Cadillac in downtown Detroit. This annual gathering is hosted by business leaders for Michigan, and it brings together top business and community executives to discuss ways to compete in the global marketplace. My first guest is one of the CEOs in attendance here. She heads up one of the state's educational gems, the Michigan Science Center. The museum is celebrating its 5th birthday with a very exciting exhibit. I'd like to welcome Dr. Tonya Matthews back to American Black Journal. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. Good to be back.
Does that mean you've been with us for 5 years?
Almost. I have indeed seen all 5 of our birthdays. So I'm just over my 4-year plus hump.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you very much.
I can remember when we weren't sure there was going to be a science center here.
Yes.
It closed, and we had to sort of rethink the whole thing.
And I think that's actually part of the point of the 5th anniversary and also what the summit is talking about, this idea of sustainability. You know, 5 years old means you guys can look forward to seeing us for the next 100 years, which is fantastic.
There's a lot more stability built into the into the model. So let's talk about the special exhibit.
Yeah, so we've been looking at different ways we've grown. So we are now hosting 1001 inventions, untold stories of a golden age in civilization. And in addition to the amazing content, it's talking about scientific innovation and this leap in the 7th through 17th, 18th centuries, kind of similar to what's going on right now. If you think that the iPad is only 10 years old and it has taken over your life. So it was one of those hyper periods of technological growth. But I think what's important for the Michigan Science Center in Detroit is that it is an internationally traveling, world-renowned exhibition that has come here through what we've been able to do in building the brand. Of course, we're growing right alongside with Detroit. So this is really important to both of us to be able to host this.
The importance of science, we get reminded of it every day. You talk about the tablet and the phone. You know, I sleep with the phone next to my head. It's the first thing I do in the morning, the last thing I do at night. I don't know that we're to the place, though, where everybody thinks about all of the science that goes into it, and that they could be part of that. That you could be, you know, I say this to my kids all the time, you know, you could invent something that's making my phone work, or invent the phone itself. We're still working on that.
Absolutely, moving this conversation from consumer to creator. And perhaps it's for an industry or for a job or for your home life work balance, sort of whatever it is. We have programs that teach kids and curious adults how to code their own app in under a half a day. So there are different kinds of things that we can and should be doing. And also when it comes to really important stuff dear to my heart, medical technology, It's also about how much do we need to know in order to be a partner in all of these new technologies that are coming into our lives. So it's for everyone now. So we need everyone to focus on algebra. Not that bad. We can get this done.
I was not that great at algebra, so that's why I'm not in the tech field.
But your entire world, though, is powered by technology.
It is,
You probably use more technology on a daily basis than some friends that I have that work in tech-based companies. So it really is everywhere.
Let's talk about the educational outreach that you guys do at the Science Center. I know it's a big component of the programming, but talk specifically about what you see in Detroit and the partnerships that you're able to build there, where I think everyone knows the need is just more critical.
The need is really critical, and I think now that we're having these conversations about education as that leads to workforce development, Michigan going into the top 10, it starts at the ground level, It starts at the education system, and we've been able to pilot and experiment with collaborations of scale. We were able to adopt the entire 7th grade for Detroit Public Schools Community District, and then the entire 4th grade. This idea of what if it really was about every child? What does that look like? How is that possible? And that was everything from bringing every student into the Science Center for a lesson that matched their textbook, One of the things I'm particularly proud of is we then used the STEMinista project to put a STEM career professional role model into every 4th grade classroom.
Wow.
And that's transformative. So there are things that we need to be thinking about differently, right? School, the classroom is a part of our education,
Sure.
but it was never designed to be the entire thing.
Yeah.
Got to get parents involved, community involved, future employers involved. And by all means, call the Michigan Science Center.
Right, right. You know, it's interesting you say the classroom's important, but you need all these other things. We still, though, have classroom challenges in
Yes.
Detroit with science in particular. Not enough people to teach it, not enough money to hire the people
Right.
to teach it in certain places.
And one of the things I like about some of the ideas that are going on at the summit is perhaps even thinking about teaching and education as a profession the way we think about businesses. Whenever your business is trying to do something new or big or special, you bring in a specialist, you bring in a consultant. That is not an insult or considered bad business. So what happens when we really want to be teaching students about education or IT or coding? Is that a time when you bring in your enrichment partner, knowing that our teachers are professionals at social-emotional development, reading, basic math, basic science, when we're ready to step up, when we're ready to talk about skilled trades or craftsmanship at a higher level? This is when we really need to think about bringing in and integrating these special STEM enrichment partners as opposed to just sort of a one-off visit.
Yeah, yeah. The Science Center for my entire life has been where it is. I can remember when I was a kid, I remember when it opened, and there was a big exhibit about the space shuttles. It was one of the first things I remember seeing there. But that's a community of museums, arts institutions. Talk about how that all works together in the new iteration of the Science Center.
I think it's working together now in a very different way. At the end of the day, you know, Detroit actually has a museum district.
Yes.
We don't really talk about it that way, but we're trying to experiment with that. So for the 1001 Inventions exhibition, we created a joint field trip with the DIA. So kids will come and they will start their day at the Science Center, and then the DIA worked with us to align galleries over at the DIA. They will cross the street. You walk across 50 steps, Stephen,
right.
50 steps.
Across the street,
And so that's all kinds of kids, both sides of the brain, connecting technology to the world, to beauty, to art. And those field trips sold out.
Yeah.
So we do know that there is interest, the kids like it, the students like it. We need to be doing more things like that throughout Midtown.
Yeah. When you got here, I remember remarking how significant I thought it was that an African-American woman was going to lead the Science Center, how significant that would be to people in this community. But I also always want to give you a chance to talk about, you have like 7 degrees or something. Like, I mean, you're one of the most educated people I know, and it's always so impressive. And I think that is part of that significance, right? The way that you have found through these barriers that prevent people from doing what you have done. I mean, you sort of show, hey, it can work.
Well, you know, I really appreciate that, and thank you. But I really like being in Detroit. I mean, this is a powerful and incredible community, and I have had the experience where people see all of me, and I have to admit, I think Detroit gets it, right? I mean, you're talking about barriers and people thinking you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing or that you may not make it. You know, it's part of the story and the culture and community here, but I do acknowledge and respect what it means to be the first African-American female CEO, first African-American CEO of the Science Center here. But I want to push us forward and say that's just one of the additional ways Detroit should be and could be leading the country.
Right.
At the end of the day, to keep this nation going, we're going to need more people like me sort of at those tables, because this is what we're starting to look like.
Right, right. And not just a scientist, but also a pretty darn good poet, too. Renaissance woman, right?
Yes. Well, you know, and so that's one of the things, you know, we're having these conversations about STEAM, you know, adding the arts to the STEM. And I think that's starting to underlie the issue of, you know, science, technology is creative, and it requires problem
it's the
solvers.
same part of your brains that
And you got to
using.
get all of that sort of going together. And so I really try very hard not to intermingle the two, but they do on a daily basis. Sometimes my staff tells me less metaphors, more spreadsheets, sort of those
stick to the data, right?
kinds of things, but it works.
All right, well, thanks very much for being here, and
Thank you for
congratulations
having
again
me.
on 5 years.
Thank you, Stephen.